Dr. Amanda Brooks sat in front of her computer screen at the radio telescope station. She had been looking for signals from space for 15 years, but what she saw now was different, very different. The patterns on her screen were not like anything she had ever seen before. "Hey Carlos, come here and look at this," she called to her friend across the dark room. Dr. Carlos Mendez rolled his chair over with his coffee cup in his hand. "What did you find, Amanda?" "I got this signal 3 hours ago. It's coming from the direction of the Vega star system. But look at these patterns. They are very complex and strange." Carlos looked closer at the screen. His face became serious as he studied the wave patterns. "This is not natural. Someone or something made this signal, but I have never seen this type of code before." Amanda nodded. Her face looked worried. "I have been trying to decode it for hours. I found some math patterns that are the same everywhere in the universe, so I made a basic translation system. But Carlos, this is not a friendly hello message." She opened another window on her computer to show her translation work. "This is a warning message." The two scientists worked all night long. They felt excited, but also scared as they slowly understood what the message was saying. When the sun came up, they knew the terrible truth. The signal was a last desperate message from a dying race of aliens called the Zalari. Their planet had been attacked and conquered by something called the Terran Galactic Empire. This empire was huge and powerful. It moved from star system to star system like hungry wolves. The empire had a simple plan: find planets with good resources, destroy any armies that tried to fight back, take everything valuable, and leave the people to work as slaves, or die. Amanda's hands shook as she read the last part of the translated message. "To anyone who gets this warning, you must know that Earth has been marked for harvest. The Empire's scout ships have already studied your world. Their war fleet will come in 2 solar cycles. We are dying so that others might live. Please do not let our death be for nothing." 2 solar cycles, Carlos said quietly. "That means about 18 months. Amanda picked up her phone with trembling hands. "We need to call our boss right now, then the military, then everyone." In just a few hours, their small telescope station became very busy. Government people, army generals, and scientists from all over the world came to their building. Other telescope stations around Earth checked the signal and proved it was real. Dr. Helen Park was the boss of their telescope station. She stood in front of a room full of important people like generals, government ministers, and representatives from many countries. "Everyone, this message is real. We are facing a danger unlike anything humans have ever seen. But inside the Zalari message are technical blueprints, star maps, and information about how the Empire fights. They did not just warn us. They gave us the knowledge to fight back." General Robert Stone was the top military leader. He leaned forward in his chair. "Tell us exactly what kind of enemy we are facing." Amanda stepped forward. Even though she was scared, her voice was steady. "From the technical information, the Empire's spaceships use antimatter power and plasma weapons that can destroy a whole city with one shot. They can travel faster than light and cross between star systems in just weeks. A normal invasion fleet has 50 big warships and hundreds of smaller support ships." The room became completely quiet. Finally, the defense secretary spoke. "What are our chances if we fight them with normal weapons against their technology?" Amanda shook her head. "Almost 0 chance. But the Zalari information includes blueprints for their own defense systems. These technologies gave the Empire a lot of trouble before the Zalari were defeated. If we can learn from their designs and make them better, then we might have a real chance to win." General Stone finished her sentence. "How much time do we have to get ready?" Carlos looked at his calculations. "Exactly 17 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days until their advance fleet arrives." President Martinez's voice came through the secure video call. "Then we start working today. Dr. Brooks and Dr. Mendez, you are now part of the most secret project in human history. The code name is Last Stand." Dr. Park stood up and looked around the room at all the serious faces. "From this moment on, everything changes. We have 18 months to prepare for a war that will decide if humanity survives or becomes slaves to an alien empire, Amanda felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She thought about her sister Katie, who lived in Denver with her 2 young children. She thought about her neighbor Pete, who ran the local grocery store and always smiled when she bought her morning coffee. She thought about millions of people around the world who had no idea that their lives would soon depend on what happened in this room. The Zalari died to give us this chance, Amanda said to the room. They could have used their last moments to try to escape or hide. Instead, they chose to warn us. We cannot let their sacrifice be meaningless. General Stone nodded grimly. Then we better get to work. We have a planet to save. Over the next few days, the telescope station transformed into a military command center. Computer experts worked day and night to extract every piece of information from the Zalari signal. Engineers studied the alien blueprints and tried to figure out how to build similar technology using Earth materials. Military strategists analyzed the Empire's fighting methods and looked for weaknesses. Dr. Carlos Mendez found something important buried deep in the signal. Amanda, look at this. There are fragments of messages from other conquered worlds. The Empire has done this hundreds of times before. But there's something else here. Amanda hurried over to his workstation. What did you find? Maps, Carlos said with excitement in his voice. Star charts showing the Empire's territory and the locations of other conquered planets. And Amanda, some of these worlds are still sending out hidden signals. We're not the only ones who know about the Empire. This discovery changed everything. Earth was not alone in the galaxy. There were other civilizations that had survived the Empire's attacks and were waiting for a chance to fight back. The Zalari warning had not just told Earth about the coming invasion. It had given humanity the key to finding allies across the stars. Amanda looked at the star map on her screen and felt something she had not expected. Hope. The Empire was powerful and had conquered many worlds. But they had made one big mistake. They had underestimated the power of beings who refused to give up. 18 months, she said to herself. 18 months to save not just Earth, but to start a revolution that could free the entire galaxy. The warning had been received. Now, the real work would begin. Colonel Jake Martinez walked into the huge airplane hangar that had become the center of humanity's biggest project. Computer screens covered the walls everywhere. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked day and night without stopping. They drank lots of coffee and knew that if they failed, all humans would die. Give me a status report, Jake said as he walked to the main work area where Dr. Lisa Wang was organizing the team, trying to understand alien technology. Dr. Wang looked up from her tablet computer. She looked very tired, but her voice was strong. We have made good progress on the defense network idea. The Zalari used groups of space platforms that could create interference fields. These fields confused the Empire's targeting systems and communications. How does that help us? Jake asked. We cannot build space platforms in 17 months. That is where Tony helps us. Lisa pointed toward the engineering section where Tony Rodriguez was working with holographic displays that showed modified satellite designs. Tony looked up when they came over. We cannot build as many things as the Zalari could, but we can be smarter. Instead of building new platforms, we are changing every satellite already in orbit. Communication satellites become relay points, weather satellites carry sensor packages, and even the International Space Station is being changed into a command center. Jake nodded with approval. What about weapons? That is the hard part, Tony said. The Empire's ships have energy shields that can stop normal explosives and absorb laser fire. But the Zalari data shows they can be hurt by solid projectiles, moving at very high speeds. Dr. Wang showed them a diagram on her tablet. We are building railgun installations in secret locations around the world. Underground facilities that can launch tungsten projectiles at 30% of light speed. The Empire will not expect weapons that simple, which might give us the advantage of surprise. Over the next months, the project grew bigger than anything humans had ever done before. Every major country gave resources, technology, and people to help. In the Nevada desert, huge underground complexes housed experimental weapon systems. In space, astronauts worked very hard to install new equipment on existing satellites. In laboratories around the world, Scientists pushed the limits of human knowledge, trying to adapt alien technology to work with Earth systems. Captain Sam Carter was in charge of the pilot training program. He worked with volunteers from every Air Force on the planet. The Zalari data includes detailed scans of Empire fighter aircraft, he explained to his newest group of trainees. Their pilots are genetically modified to have faster reflexes, but they are trained to fight using standard methods. They expect their enemies to behave in predictable ways. And we will not do that, added Lieutenant Maria Santos, one of the program's best students. Exactly right, Sam agreed. We are going to use modified atmospheric fighters equipped with Zalari shield generators and weapon systems. The Empire will expect orbital defense platforms and energy weapons. They will not be ready for atmospheric aircraft using guerrilla tactics. Dr. Amanda Brooks was now serving as the project's chief expert on alien archaeology. She made another important discovery while studying the deeper parts of the Zalari message. There are pieces of communications from other conquered worlds, she announced during the daily meeting. The Empire does not just harvest resources. They use a standard invasion plan that has been perfected over centuries, but that standardization is also a weakness. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. Explain that to me. They always attack the same way. First orbital bombardment to destroy obvious military targets, then landing forces to capture population centers. They depend on overwhelming technological superiority to break resistance quickly. But if we can survive the first attack and prove that we are not defenseless, their pilots and ground forces will not know how to adapt. As the months went by, humanity's preparations became more intense. Deep space monitoring stations tracked the Empire's approach, confirming that the invasion fleet was really coming toward Earth. Underground bunkers were filled with supplies and civilians were quietly moved away from major population centers. The world's governments kept acting normal while secretly preparing for war. 3 months before the projected arrival, Dr. Lisa Wang made a breakthrough that changed everything. I have figured out how to combine human-computer technology with Zalari energy systems, she announced with excitement. We can create a global network that operates faster than anything the Empire has ever seen. If we link every defense installation, every satellite, and every fighter aircraft, we can coordinate responses in real time across the entire planet. Tony Rodriguez whistled with appreciation. A planetary defense grid that thinks and adapts. The Empire's standard tactics will not have a chance. During this time, other important preparations were happening around the world. In Australia, engineers built massive underground factories that could produce ammunition and spare parts even during bombardment. In Canada, scientists worked on developing new types of armor that could protect against plasma weapons. In Japan, technicians created advanced communication systems that could work even if most of Earth's infrastructure was destroyed. The pilot training program expanded to include not just military personnel, but also civilian pilots who volunteered to fight. Airline pilots, crop dusters, and even amateur pilots who flew small planes on weekends all joined the program. They learned to fly the modified fighters that combined human engineering with alien technology. Dr. Amanda Brooks discovered something else important in the Zalari data. The Empire has a weakness we did not know about before, she told the leadership team. They depend heavily on their communication networks to coordinate attacks. If we can disrupt their communications, their forces become much less effective. This led to a new project led by Dr. Lisa Wang. She developed special transmitters that could broadcast interference signals designed specifically to confuse Empire communication systems. These transmitters were hidden in locations around the world, ready to activate when the invasion began. As the final months approached, Jake Martinez felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier. Millions of people around the world were depending on their preparations. Children played in parks unaware that their lives depended on the success of the secret project. Adults went to work and worried about normal problems, not knowing that an alien invasion fleet was approaching. The team had done everything they could think of with the time and resources available. Underground weapons were ready, satellites had been modified, pilots were trained, and communication networks were prepared. But nobody knew if it would be enough. Colonel Martinez looked around the hangar at all the people working so hard to Save humanity. 18 months of preparation, he said to himself. Now we find out if 18 months was enough time to save the human race. The Empire's advance fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They moved with the confidence of hunters approaching weak prey. Admiral Crick stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Fury. He looked at the tactical report about the target world. Standard Class M planet, Admiral, his tactical officer reported. Primitive chemical rocket technology, basic satellite network, no orbital defenses detected. Estimated resistance duration, 6 hours. Admiral Crix nodded without concern. Signal. The fleet. Standard bombardment pattern. Target their major population centers and industrial complexes. We will begin landing operations once their military infrastructure is eliminated. But as the Imperial fleet approached Earth, the first signs appeared that this would not be a normal conquest. Long-range sensors detected strange energy readings from the planet's satellite network. Communications between the Imperial ships began experiencing problems with interference. Admiral, we are detecting some unusual electromagnetic signatures, the sensor operator reported with uncertainty in his voice. Unusual how? Crix demanded. The interference patterns are too regular to be natural, but too primitive to be intentional. Jamming. It is almost like their communications satellites are broadcasting some kind of coordinated signal. Admiral Crix dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Primitive species often have chaotic electronic emissions. Proceed with the bombardment. But deep underground in Colorado, Colonel Jake Martinez watched the approaching fleet with grim satisfaction. They are coming in exactly as the Zalari. Data predicted. Standard formation, standard approach vector. Activate the defense grid. Around the planet, humanity's secret preparations came to life. Modified satellites began broadcasting coordinated interference patterns that confused the Empire's targeting systems. Underground railgun installations powered up, their massive capacitors charged and ready. Atmospheric fighters launched from hidden airfields, their Zalari-enhanced engines leaving very small heat signatures. The first Imperial bombardment beams fired at what should have been Earth's primary military installations. But the energy beams hit empty fields harmlessly. The real targets had been moved months ago, replaced by holographic projections and heat generators that fooled the Empire's sensors. Admiral, our bombardment appears to have been ineffective, the weapons officer reported with confusion. Sensors indicate the targets were destroyed, but we are detecting no secondary explosions or structural collapse. Before Admiral Crix could respond, proximity alarms began screaming throughout the Imperial fleet. Tungsten projectiles moving at 30% light speed tore through the formation. Their kinetic energy overwhelmed energy shields that had been designed to deflect energy weapons and conventional explosives. Impossible! Crix shouted as he watched 3 Imperial cruisers vaporize under the kinetic bombardment. Primitive species do not have access to relativistic kinetic weapons. Captain Sam Carter led the first wave of atmospheric fighters into the chaos of the Imperial formation. His modified F-35 Lightning was equipped with Zalari shield generators and plasma cannons that fired in rapid, unpredictable bursts. Remember, they expect us to fight like their previous enemies, he transmitted to his squadron. Keep moving, stay unpredictable, and hit them where they are not looking. The Imperial pilots found themselves completely unprepared for Earth's unconventional tactics. Instead of energy-shielded capital ships firing in organized formations, they faced small, fast aircraft that darted between the larger vessels like angry hornets. These fighters struck at vulnerable points with precise attacks before disappearing back into Earth's atmosphere. Lieutenant Maria Santos executed a maneuver that would have been impossible in a conventional fighter. She used her craft's Zalari-enhanced engines to slow down rapidly while spinning. This caused 2 Imperial interceptors to overshoot her position and fly directly into her plasma cannon fire. These guys really do not know how to handle anything that does not follow their textbook, she reported. Dr. Lisa Wang monitored the battle from the command center. She watched as humanity's integrated defense network processed thousands of data, points per second, and coordinated responses across the entire planet. The network is working perfectly, she reported to Colonel Martinez. Every defense installation is sharing targeting data in real time. The Empire's ships cannot jam or confuse a system they do not understand. But the Empire's technological superiority still showed. Despite the initial shock and confusion, Imperial forces began adapting to Earth's tactics. Admiral Crix ordered his remaining ships to maintain higher orbits and use longer-range weapons. This reduced their exposure to the kinetic bombardment while maximizing their technological advantages. "They are learning," Colonel Martinez observed, as Imperial plasma beams began finding their targets with increasing accuracy. "How long can we maintain this level of resistance?" Tony Rodriguez, coordinating the railgun installations, shook his head grimly. "The kinetic weapons are overheating. We can maintain maximum fire rate for maybe another 4 hours before we have to cycle down for cooling." The battle continued for hours. Earth's fighters used hit-and-run tactics, striking at Imperial ships and then retreating before the enemy could respond effectively. The railgun installations fired in coordinated volleys, forcing the Imperial fleet to constantly change position and formation. Dr. Amanda Brooks, monitoring communications intercepts from the Imperial fleet, looked up with sudden excitement. "Wait, I am picking up something significant. The Empire is not just retreating, they are calling for reinforcements, and there is something else. Other signals from different star systems." She worked frantically at her console, applying the translation matrices they had developed from the Zalari data. "Colonel, I think our resistance is being broadcast across the galaxy. The Empire's communications network is carrying reports of their difficulties here, and other worlds are responding." Colonel Martinez felt a surge of hope. "You mean we are not alone in this fight?" "Not anymore," Amanda confirmed. "The galaxy is watching Earth prove that the Empire can be defeated." As news of Earth's resistance spread through Imperial communication networks, something unexpected began happening across the galaxy. Other conquered worlds that had been enslaved for decades started to stir. The example of one small planet fighting back against impossible odds inspired hope in species that had given up long ago. The battle around Earth became a symbol that spread faster than Imperial ships could travel. On distant worlds, enslaved, populations whispered about the humans who had dared to fight back. Underground resistance movements that had been dormant for years began planning their own rebellions. Admiral Crix received disturbing reports from across the Empire. "Sir, we are getting emergency communications from 7 different sector commands. There are uprisings on multiple worlds. They are requesting immediate military support." But Crix had his own problems. His invasion fleet had been reduced by more than half, and the humans continued to fight with tactics that defied every assumption in Imperial military doctrine. Worse, every hour of continued resistance sent a message across the galaxy that the Empire could be defeated. The invasion, that was supposed to take 6 hours, had already lasted 3 days, and Earth was still fighting. Captain Sam Carter's modified fighter screamed through Earth's upper atmosphere. His Zalari-enhanced engines pushed the limits of human engineering as he chased the retreating Imperial squadron. 3 months of continuous fighting had changed both him and his aircraft into something the Empire had never seen before. He was now a combination of human creativity and alien technology that broke every rule in their military books. "Stalker Squadron, this is Stalker 1, Sam transmitted to his surviving pilots. "Imperial reinforcements are jumping in at Grid 77. All units move to my position." Lieutenant Maria Santos responded from her position near the lunar defense platforms. "Copy, Stalker 1. Be warned, the new Imperial ships are different. Heavier armor, more aggressive tactics." Admiral Crix stood on the bridge of his reinforced flagship. He was now surrounded by twice the original invasion force. The past months of warfare had been unlike anything in the Empire's military history. Instead of the quick conquest he had expected, Earth had proven to be a grinding, costly campaign that went against every principle of Imperial warfare. "Status report," he demanded. "We have lost 47 capital ships and over 300 support vessels," his tactical officer reported with barely hidden anxiety. "The humans continue to use unpredictable tactics, and their defensive network has adapted to counter every strategy we have tried." But the most disturbing development was not Earth's military resistance. Communications from across the Empire reported growing unrest on conquered worlds. The humans had somehow managed to broadcast their defensive tactics and the Zalari warning to dozens of star systems. Species that had been enslaved for generations were beginning to rebel, inspired by the example of one small planet that had dared to fight back. In the underground command center, Colonel Jake Martinez coordinated humanity's final plan. Dr. Lisa Wang had discovered something remarkable in the deepest layers of the Zalari data. She found the location and access codes for the Empire's central communications hub, a massive relay station that coordinated military operations across hundreds of star systems. If we can get a team to that station, Dr. Wang explained, we can broadcast the complete Zalari archive to every conquered world at the same time. Technical specifications, tactical data, evidence of the Empire's crimes, everything needed to spark a galaxy-wide revolution. Tony Rodriguez had spent weeks designing the mission profile. We will use a captured Imperial transport, modified with our best stealth technology. Small team, fast insertion, upload the data, and get out before they know we are there. Captain Sam Carter volunteered to lead the mission, along with Lieutenant Maria Santos and Dr. Amanda Brooks. Their modified transport was disguised with Imperial identification codes. It slipped through the chaotic battle around Earth and jumped to hyperspace. The Imperial Communications Hub was a massive structure, orbiting a dead star. Its quantum transmitters could send instantaneous communication across the galaxy. Sam's team got into the station during a shift change, using their knowledge of Imperial procedures to blend in with routine maintenance personnel. Dr. Brooks worked frantically at the central transmission console while Sam and Maria provided security. I am uploading everything, she whispered. The complete Zalari archive, our tactical innovations, proof that the Empire can be defeated. This is going out to every star system in their network. Across the galaxy, the effect was immediate and devastating to Imperial control. On Kepler 442b, the enslaved Andromedans used Earth's kinetic weapon designs to destroy Imperial orbital platforms. In the Proxima Centauri system, the conquered ethereals used human-inspired guerrilla tactics to overwhelm Imperial ground forces. Dozens of worlds that had submitted to Imperial rule for centuries suddenly erupted in coordinated rebellion. Admiral Crix received the reports with growing horror. The entire Outer Rim is in revolt, his communications officer reported. 7. Sector fleets are requesting emergency reinforcements. The Senate is demanding immediate explanations. But the final blow came from an unexpected source. The Imperial Senate itself was composed of representatives from the Empire's core worlds. They had received the Zalari broadcasts along with everyone else. For the first time, the civilian leadership fully understood the scope of the Empire's crimes and the growing threat to Imperial stability. Admiral Crix, came the transmission from the Imperial capital. You are hereby ordered to cease operations against Earth immediately and return to Imperial space. The Senate has voted to negotiate a cessation of hostilities with the human government. Colonel Martinez received the Imperial withdrawal notice with a mixture of relief and amazement. After 8 months of desperate warfare, Earth had not only survived but had somehow managed to turn the tables on their would-be conquerors. Is it over? Asked Dr. Lisa Wang. The invasion is over, Jake confirmed. But I think we have started something much bigger. In the months that followed, Earth became the unofficial capital of what historians would later call the Galactic Liberation Front. Species from across the Empire's former territories sent delegations to learn from humanity's example and coordinate joint resistance efforts. The Empire, faced with rebellions on hundreds of worlds and the collapse of their administrative structure, was forced to negotiate genuine independence agreements with their former subjects. Captain Sam Carter, now promoted to admiral, stood on the observation deck of humanity's first interstellar ship, the Hope of Earth. The ship was preparing to depart for the Vega system. Their mission was to rebuild the Zalari homeworld and establish the first free settlement in what had once been Imperial space. Dr. Amanda Brooks was now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community. She reviewed the final reports from the liberation campaigns. The Empire still exists, she noted, but it has been reduced to a fraction of its former size. More importantly, the galaxy knows that tyranny can be defeated. The warning that had arrived in Earth's darkest hour had done more than save humanity. It had sparked a revolution that transformed the galaxy, proving that sometimes the smallest voice, crying out against injustice, could topple even the mightiest empire. Back on Earth, Dr. Carlos Mendez continued to monitor the radio frequencies from their original telescope station. Now he was not just listening for warnings, but for messages of hope from newly liberated worlds. The galaxy had changed forever. Children on Earth grew up learning about the Zalari sacrifice and how one warning message had saved not just their world, but countless others. Schools taught about the importance of helping others even when it seemed hopeless. And in deep space observatories around the galaxy, other species continued to monitor the radio frequencies, listening for warnings from distant civilizations, and ready to carry forward the message that had changed everything. The message was simple but powerful. Resistance is possible, freedom is worth fighting for, and no empire lasts forever. The galaxy was finally free, and it all started with one brave civilization that chose to warn others instead of giving up. The Zalari were gone, but their legacy lived on in every free world across the stars.